Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Oversteer and Underdogs. I'm Dean. This is my good buddy Rob.
What up?
We are continuing our top 5 theme here. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going over our top 5 favorite all-time race cars. These aren't cars that necessarily are the most winningest cars ever, for at least for me. But these are the cars that had probably the biggest impact to us. They're the coolest things we think they have on racetracks. So Rob, how's your start? I got a certain direction with mine. I think ours are gonna be pretty different here.
Yeah, I think they might be. I think we might have one, maybe two that cross over. But I'm gonna start off with one of just honestly, it's one of my favorite just because of the sound. And it literally was a one-hit wonder because they banned it the following year because what it did. And it is the Mazda 787B. That was the Mazda prototype in the Le Mans series. And it was the Rotary Rebel. It was loud, it was weird, it was just completely different. It literally won Le Mans, and the FIA, the racing world, they decided to ban it immediately. Um, it was a four rotor. For those of you who don't know what rotors are, or rotaries are, it is instead of pistons that punch, it is a circular Dorito that spins in a circle that has combustion chambers on each side that it pumps out the power to. And so it's three-sided with it. But the thing is there's fewer moving parts, so it's a little bit more durable in the long run. That's why it was able to withstand the 24 hours, especially in the early 90s when it went. It was 1991, so I mean everyone was running V8s, the Formula One style 3.5 liter engines, things like that. And then this one rotary comes out and absolutely dog walks the shit out of everybody. It was, so yeah, no pistons, three-sided rotary, and it was incredibly light. So it was very durable, but it was light at the same time. You were looking, I want to say it was at around 375 pounds, maybe. So, I mean, you and I, Dean, could lift that thing together, no problem. You try and get a big block V8 or even a small block V8, we're going to need us and then some to be able to lift it. It was the first Japanese manufacturer to ever win the Le Mans as well, which was a huge deal, especially
I didn't know that.
I didn't either until I started
That's
doing
cool.
some research on it. But the crazy thing is the sound that this thing had.
Oh yeah.
It sounded like banshees screaming down the track. 9,000 plus RPMs is what that thing was hitting at. Insane.
Oh. Sounds like the angriest F1 car you've ever heard.
Literally,
multiplied.
it does. And they weren't the fastest in like the single lap with it. The Mercedes C11 was faster, but the Mazda was so reliable, and the fuel efficiency was the big thing. They didn't have to stop as much as the others did, and that's what really helped them get past it. But the decibels, the kind of like, I guess it was a 2.6 liter was the displacement with it. So the decibels, the weight, the fuel efficiency, everyone, when they won it, they were like, cool, you can win. But the FIA immediately changed the rules in 92 to require 3.5 liter engines, the F1 style engines, effectively outlawing the rotary from that point on. It was literally so disruptive that it has been dubbed the one-hit wonder of the Le Mans series. And honestly, like, just the sound of it is the reason why I picked it. There's videos that I watch, it gives me chills every time I hear it because it just doesn't sound of this world.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think we've all heard it. It's like it sounds like a hornet's nest getting closer and closer and somehow going faster and faster. Sounds like it wants to explode, but it just
it
just
doesn't
keeps going.
And
it just goes to the moon.
It sucks. It would have been really cool to be able to see that go even further,
Oh,
just
yeah.
that rather than just that 1 year, the one hit quit that
Yeah.
happened. Um,
Imagine.
That's because now, like, what has happened with rotary motors, the technology that's inside of them to this day, outside of that, just think of what they would have been able to accomplish. I honestly feel like if the rotary was in there, it would have been unstoppable. Even when Audi came in and did when we talked about it last week with with Christensen, I don't think they would have had that run that they were looking at before.
Yeah. Mazda'd still be racing probably.
Yeah, yeah. So that is my number 5 on my list.
I like it. I see a theme that's going to happen throughout this list already. Now moving on to a different car. It is one of my favorite eras of racing and one of my favorite racing series in general. It's the Tom Supra from the JGTC. Anybody who if you haven't watched the Japanese Grand Touring Car Championship from the 90s, it is so frigging cool. It is one of the coolest racing series of all time. At least to me, I think it's amazing. You had such a wide range of cars. And you had this one specific car, and maybe it's a nostalgia thing, maybe it's a video game thing, maybe something like that. It's one of the first car race GT type of cars I remember racing. Is the Tom Supra, and it's your Mark IV Supra, real wide, gigantic wing, barely looks like a Supra anymore, but it doesn't have a 2JZ in it, which is what makes it really cool to me. It has a special built 3S GTE, which is the engine from the Celica from WRC, which was also famously outlawed because they had their little boost restrictor bypass they made up there. But this car, so it was a 2-liter car, 350 horse, which, in a GT car with how much this thing weighed, it'd probably be competitive today even. Such a wide wheelbase. And it was a sequential, which, again, really cool for the time.
For the time period, that you didn't see a lot of that yet. Yeah,
and when Toyota first entered the Supra, the A90 platform Supra into the JGTC, they couldn't win. Nissan dominated that series forever with the R32 Godzilla.
Yeah.
That was the monster of that class. And Toyota and Nissan had a rivalry going on through racing for the last 3 decades. And Toyota they couldn't come out on top. They just could not win. So they found a way to lighten the car and keep the same amount of power. And this car in 1997, if you haven't watched the race, the finale of the 1997 season, it's incredibly exciting. It's the reason there's a whole bunch of Supras that were built the same way, but the Tom's team with that legendary Castrol livery, that's the one, right? Like, that's the one. But it got so famous because of that race. It came down to the very final race. It was between 2 Supras, and the GTRs could win if they really upset them, ended up winning the race, and the Supras finished well down the field. But it turned to this massive drama fest that reminded me of F1, where the winner of the championship actually came in 15th in that race. But it's this huge dramatic play out of like car damage, spin outs, issues in the pits. It looked like it wasn't going to happen for him. And then all of a sudden, everything just turned the right way, and it was the feel-good moment for the team. Toyota finally came out on top. But one of my favorite things about it is the list of cars it beat. All right. So just for reference, okay, we know it beat R32 GTR. Cool. NSX. Wow. Dodge Viper.
Damn.
Huh? M3. The M3 from that era. So the I believe that'd be the E9. What is that? Not the E46, the one just before it. E36?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you had the 911 GT2 RSR. That's a big dog.
That's a big dog.
Now, you want to hear a bigger one? The McLaren F1 was in the same category.
That's nuts.
And it beat it over the course of a season. So that's why that's my favorite car. That's one of my favorite race cars of all time. Just raw. Beat the crap out of anything. Everybody brought everything they could, and Toyota came out on top.
Yeah. No, that white, I mean, and again, like the white base with the green and red Castrol livery on it.
Yep.
That's just that was wasn't that on Gran Turismo's one of their
Oh
games
yeah.
at one point? That was
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
was the cover.
Yeah, it was. It was one of the. It's just I can't look at a Gran Turismo title without seeing that car.
Yeah. I feel like that's gonna be for a lot of people too. Like honestly, that's again, like you said, that's that nostalgia feeling, especially when that's when graphics were still shit. Like
We were just playing colorful potatoes.
yeah, like that's when it was really pixely still, but I mean, nonetheless, like back then, that was cutting edge, groundbreaking
Oh yeah.
technology. And
Yeah.
it's so funny looking back at it now, looking at the games that we're sim racing on now. Back when I was doing it on
Mm-hmm.
mouse and like just on keyboard, no controller. I remember I was on the computer playing it. WSAD was turning in throttle and brake. That's it.
Oh, that car, it's forever etched in my mind. It's one of the coolest cars ever made, I think.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great one, honestly. It's funny, we're going into kind of this car. My number 4 came in across a lot of different classifications, a lot of different platforms for when it was out. So much that it actually throughout all of the different racing series that it was in a part of had 1,400 total wins. It's one of in history, one of the most winningest cars. But the craziest thing about it is how it came to be. And it's the BMW E30 M3. This was, if you think about it, like most race cars, they're born in the garage. The E30 M3, it was born in a courtroom because they were legally required to produce at minimum 5,000 street cars, sell it to the public, make it public for them to be able to be in Group A. And
Mhm.
so they had to sell 5,000 units for it, blah, blah, blah. So it is a race car. Like, if you can get your hands on one of these, you have
Oh,
that's a
big money.
collector's car. Like,
Big money.
that's big money. If you can get an E30 BMW for cheap, you get an E30
Yeah.
M3, you're looking at a gold mine with that. And you're looking at one,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that style, that boxy, that late 80s,
Uh,
early
DTM.
90s DTM. It was DTM
Yeah.
rally, it was in endurance, like it
Oh,
was
it's in
across
everything.
the
It was
board.
everywhere. Yeah.
Um it won multiple wins at the 24 hours of Nürburgring. It won at Le Mans. Let's see, actually, I have it pulled up here. So total wins, well over 1,400 victories, making it legendary.
That's a crazy number.
Crazy number. Won numerous championships in Germany, UK, Europe, Australia, and Japan. It secured significant wins, including the 87 DTM title, the 89 World Touring Car Championship, and in endurance racing, my personal favorite series, dominated classic endurance events. 24 hours of Nürburgring, a total of 5 wins in 89, 90, 91, 92, and 94. So the only year they didn't win in a row was 93. And the 24 hours of Spa, they won 4 times. 87,
That's
88,
crazy.
90, and 92. Oh,
Those Germans.
insane. I mean, it had the flared out fender well, like the wheel wells. It
Oh yeah.
had I mean, and if you think about this, this was racing against the Mercedes 190E, which again,
Oh, tremendous car.
gorgeous car. Like
Tremendous.
I'm not a huge fan of Mercedes. If I could, the wing that they had on the back,
Yeah.
the front splitter that came on, just a gorgeous car. But it was beating the dog shit out of the Mercedes 190E. And the crazy thing is every single panel on the racing version of the M3 was different except for the hood and the roof from the street version. And it also, because it needed to be able to have better aero and accommodate wider tires all around. It's insane to me to also think that this was a tiny little four banger that was pumping out 350 horsepower to the wheels and plus
that thing screamed.
And it weighed under 1,000 kilograms. So it weighed under 2,200 pounds.
Under $2,000. Damn. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's light as shit for a commuter car, if you think about
for anything. That's light for anything. That's crazy.
And talking about what you were talking about earlier, it was sequential gearbox as well. Which again, you didn't see it much when in those late 80s, early 90s. That was just that was just starting
that was
to come
newer
out.
stuff.
So I love that car, and again, it sounded great. Another great sounding car. When it pops, it
screamed.
Just an all around cool car. And me being a huge BMW fan owner, I love it. So that is definitely why it had to be on my top 5.
I love it. You're gonna thoroughly appreciate this then.
Yeah.
My number 4 is the BMW E46 M3 GTR. You want to talk about one-hit wonders. It only raced for one season.
So sad.
Because it was only allowed for one season.
It's insane.
So BMW got real tired of losing to Porsche in the American Le Mans series. They got really tired of it. So they took the M3, their regular M3 GT3, GT2 car they had running out there. And they decided we're going to make a bespoke engine for it. We're going to make a 4-liter V8 with 450 horse, and we're going to cram it into this car. We're not putting this engine in anything else. They did not use this engine in any other vehicle. Now the catch with racing in that series was you had to make at least 10 road going examples to be manufactured. They didn't have to be sold. So they went and they manufactured 10 of these for the street. 10 of these cars. They had no aero. Now, given they had no aero on them, they had a little bit wider fenders, and they crammed a bespoke engine into it that was detuned but had a massive carbon fiber intake sitting on top of it. For the crazy people that wanted to actually own this thing, that's me. I want to own it.
Yeah, I want to own it. I've wanted to own that car forever.
So this car shows up, right? It shows up. First 10 races, it wins 7 of them. That's crazy.
That's insane.
Absurd. Okay, yeah, sure. It was built to beat the GT3 RSR, which is a legendary GT car. Absolutely legendary GT car. They made rules to get this car outlawed because Porsche complained so much. Porsche dominated the GT world, the endurance world for, as long as it's been around, really.
Yeah.
They've always been at the top. And these cars that we're talking about generally are built to beat a Porsche. That's just kind of the theme. So after this car went through and just destroyed everybody, won its first season out there, not even close. It wasn't a competition anymore. They made it so the engine had to be used in more than just one model, and you had to manufacture at least 100. So it made it financially just not possible to make another car like this. So it is truly a one-hit wonder as well. It actually changed the way Porsche developed their race cars. Porsche had to go back to the drawing board even after this car was outlawed, and they had to change the way they developed their cars, change the way they thought about homologation. This is why we get our 100. You might get 100 of this version of that car. You get 100 of that. You get 100 of that. This is why BMW thought of it first. And the complaint wasn't that it was against the rules. It was that it was against the spirit of the rules.
Fuck the spirit.
So everybody, that's what BMW said. They got tired of losing. Just the sound of this car. It's a very high revving V8, but the real star of the show is the gearbox, which you don't say often. It isn't something you hear often, you say often. It's a naturally aspirated engine. The whine is insane. It whines like crazy, and it has nothing to do with the engine at all. It's just the meshing of the straight cut gears being the loudest thing ever. It's a fantastic sound. And then me and you, at least I know it from specifically the Need for Speed games.
Yep.
It was the star car in Need for Speed Most Wanted, which is to this day is my favorite racing game of all time. I don't care how it's just my favorite. I can still pick it up and play it. I don't know how many hundreds of hours I have put on it. Still have the original game I had. Still play it.
It's still, I mean, that is one of my top 3 for sure. I mean, it's games for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
the only reason why you're talking about this one is because I already took one other from you, so I wanted you to have it. That is also one of my favorite cars. And
it's just an amazing machine.
BMW learned their lesson with the E30 M3, and they said, fuck it, we're going to do it again.
Yep. This time we get more cylinders.
Yes.
Watch this. Amazing machine. That's why it's my number 4.
No, absolutely. That's a great one. I mean, it's funny, we're kind of sticking into the endurance kind of side of things with this one for me. The Ford GT40. We've talked about it quite a bit. Ford versus Ferrari, hands down, one of my favorite movies. I know it's one of yours as well. But just the history around what the GT40 means, especially for American automobiles. The GT40 wasn't built just to win a trophy. It, in my opinion, it was built because Henry Ford II wanted to steal Enzo's soul.
It was built to break hearts.
It was built to break one heart in particular, and that was old man and Ferrari and Enzo Ferrari. 1963, the marketing team of Ford comes to Mr. Henry Ford II and says, hey, we've been in NASCAR for so long, but it's not the kind of crowd we're wanting to get into now. You got the boomers, the baby boomers that are now coming of age. They're more high, flashy. You got Steve McQueen, you got James Deane. A couple years before this, he passed, but you had Speed. Speed was sexy. Speed, it was what everyone wanted. It showed that high class feel for it. No one gave a shit about NASCAR. Everyone was focusing on what Ferrari was doing. So what does Henry Ford think he can do? Henry Ford II think he can do? He thinks he can go and just buy Ferrari, and that's not the case. Ferrari, Mr. Ferrari himself makes Ford look like an idiot and pretty much pulls a deal out from under them that they were trying to work on. And Ford's exact words were, build me a car that will crush him at Le Mans. And they go and get 2 of the best in history to work on this car, to make this car what it was. Ken Miles, amazing guy, got screwed over. And Carroll Shelby himself, who was already running Shelby America. He was making the Cobras, pumping them out to people like Steve McQueen and other individuals in the movie industry, and anybody who had a couple bucks that they wanted to just throw away and get into a nice, fun car. They build this just monster, absolute monster. I mean, you had Ferrari's V12s with the brute force that Ford came up with the 7.0, the 7-liter V8 straight out of a NASCAR, pretty much, that they tuned and slammed inside the rear end of the GT40. And they not only won the second year, they went and ran in Le Mans without Ken Miles and the first year, and no one listened to him. The thing blew up. All the entries that they had just didn't make it. And next year they finally listened to Mr. Shelby and said, he's like, Ken's the dude. We got to have Ken there. Ken goes on to go up at least, I want to say, like a lap and a half on the second closest Ford, because they were 1, 2, and 3, but Ken was just driving it like a madman. The controversial photo finish where they had Ken Miles slow down so they could get a 1, 2, 3 photo finish across the line, ends up screwing him over, because back in the day you had to run to your car, and depending on where you started, that's if you made up more ground than the other person, you essentially would win. And that's what happened with Ken. Even though he led the whole race, dominated it, he got second place. Never had the chance to do it again, because he then later that year in testing died from a horrible accident. But the GT40 went on to win not 1, not 2, but 3 more consecutive years in a row, for a total of 4 consecutive years. The only time that has ever happened for an American team, American manufacturer, if you will. And Ferrari didn't tip his hat to Henry Ford. He tipped his hat to Ken Miles, because he knew who did that. He knew the people who made that car. It wasn't Henry Ford. He just slapped his name on it. Wasn't Leo Beebe's bitch ass. He just tried to run the show. It was Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby, and that car,
That's right.
still to this day, is, I mean, they've made some remakes of it, and I will tell you what, the remakes of them later on in the decades later, pretty on point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that Ford GT was, going back to the same kind of games thing. That was the Ford GT was the car I counted. I was like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah.
And then getting a little older and learning what that car was born from, and seeing how that car really captured that. But just watching the videos, hearing
The ITBs were just,
GT40 is,
dude,
crazy.
I mean,
Crazy.
it was straight out the hood. That thing was so loud.
And you want to
And
talk about some of the most beautiful cars of all time. I mean,
sleek body lines, just perfect.
The endurance cars from that era, even the Ferraris it was built to beat, those are some of the most beautiful cars ever built, especially race cars. Those are the most beautiful race cars, I would say.
Yeah.
When it comes to just elegance and form, those are the looks. But the GT40 had that raw sound to it.
And in the 60s, this thing was revving out to almost 8,000 RPMs.
No,
that's
screaming, all those bald eagles screaming around Le Mans.
absolutely insane. So that is, I mean, if that's not on your top 5, obviously, other than you, because we had to switch them up. I don't know what other cars really are going to be, because that, just for what it stood for, like you said, what it stood for is what made it iconic.
Yeah, that was America finally being successful in Le Mans. Quite honestly, like that's what made it popular here.
Not just with race. American drivers, but with an American car.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that's what brought it here. Absolutely. So I mean, this is going to be probably one of the few that strays outside of our endurance world, I think, here. But kind of following the theme of cars that don't get to last very long, and this is a car that I think could have been, is what it could have been, I think, is what's so cool about it. It's the Ford RS 200. Which was built for Group B rally. And there's some stuff in here. Yeah, exactly. there's some stuff in here that this is one of my favorite cars of all time, and I knew a lot about the Group B side. I didn't know about the rest. There was a lot more. So the Ford RS 200 was an effort by Ford during the Group B era. Group B was craziness. Group B was no restrictions, keep the A, B, and C pillar for a production car, and the rest is fair game. You had Audis cranking out over 500 horsepower. You had Lancias with engines in the back of a hatchback that's turbocharged and supercharged, all-wheel drive. You had crazy machine. You had cars with magnesium wheels and fuel enclosures. Magnesium's flammable, by the way.
Yeah.
Highly. These were cars that were so fast, they actually mentally impacted drivers. They had to get therapists to drive these cars.
That's
They were
insane.
insane. They were insane. If rally wasn't crazy enough, this was just, I don't even know how to describe how crazy that is for anybody who hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it, haven't watched videos, please watch it, because it is to me, it's the rawest form of motorsport was Group B. Without Group B, we don't end up with more than likely, the level of all-wheel drive we got through a lot of motorsport and all these different things. But either way, so the RS200 was built to dethrone Audi. That was the idea. Ford wanted to go out and beat the Germans, and they were going to do originally a new 1.8 liter Cosworth engine in their Ford Escort, the Mark III Ford Escort. They scrapped that because they knew that rear-wheel drive would not be enough to topple the all-wheel drive monster that Audi was. And they built the RS200, which was a very small, very, very small commuter-sized car
Yeah.
with an all-wheel drive system that was totally new. Nobody else had a system like this. It actually had a mid-engine with a front transmission. So it was a
weird.
transaxle.
Yeah.
So it was a rear engine that sent power through a drive shaft to a transaxle in the front, which was then hooked up to another drive shaft that went to the rear. So there was two drive shafts one going forward, one going backwards. They passed each other. And it was this unique system they came up with. Strange as all heck. Weirdest thing. The initial iteration was 2,300 pounds and 450 horse. That's a lot. God. That's crazy. That's insane. To drive on a country road you can barely fit two cars down. It's at Mach Jesus. Yeah, that's crazy. This car actually only existed for 1 year. It killed 5 people.
Jesus Christ.
3 spectators and 1 driver, 1 co-driver. Okay? That's how fast this thing was. It never won a season because it didn't have a chance. It won 1 rally. Imagine what they could have done with this car in Group B. This is actually the accident that happened. It went off the road, hit dozens of spectators, and killed 3, unfortunately. And it was one of the accidents that actually caused the cancellation of Group B. One of the major accidents that caused the cancellation of Group B.
Jeez.
Yeah, pretty wild. It's a wild machine. After Group B was canceled, this is where I started to learn different things. I knew it went into rallycross in that time period, which rallycross was pretty lawless. And I can give you an example because it got a 2.2 liter Cosworth engine instead that cranked out 815 horsepower.
Good God.
All right. It won. Let's see. How many did you win in a row? Oh yeah. 5 straight podiums for an entire season. 5 years straight, finished on the podium of rallycross, winning 2 of them. Domination. That's
insane.
Insanity. It was actually such a good platform. Somebody was crazy enough in the US to take it to IMSA. It was a GTO car. What? That version had 850 horsepower. So we just give a little bit more. Give it another 35. Crank her up.
That's insane.
And it only ran 1 season there. It actually ran 3 seasons. 1 season incomplete. The other season, so it was actually such a difficult car to drive. The driver passed out from heat exhaustion, went flying through the pits and smashed it into a wall, and the car was just never the same because there was only 1 guy willing to do it. Chassis was never the same, car was never the same, never got a chance to be successful. But it's one of those cars, if you just look at it, we'll put a picture and sounds up and all that stuff, it's crazy. You have this massive intake on top. You can't see my hands, it's like here. This intake is considerably wider than this, like 3 times wider than this, over the roof. Then there's 2 sticking out the side like this, next to it, because they're cramming as much air as they could into this thing. If you see this car, it wasn't built as a road car. They built the race car and made the road car after. Like it wasn't made for anything except to go fast. It was made to do rally, nothing else. It was made to race. It wasn't made to be driven. There are some out there. They made, how many road going ones did we make? 100. There's 100 road going ones out there. That's it. It is just a mental machine it's a big what if. What could they have done with that car? A 2.2 liter, 815 horsepower.
That's wild.
In the late 80s. No traction control, no ABS, no stability control, big old balls. That's it. They put a second seat in it because they had to. That's what Group B gets me excited, but that car in general, that was one of the ones that came at the end. If Group B never ended, you wonder what could have came because there was a lot of cars coming down the line that just never got a chance. And to me, that's the most exciting one.
But yeah,
And that's why it's my number. Rallies, I love rally. It's just been such a cool thing to me. I think it's an amazing thing. I think you have to have the biggest balls on the planet to do it. And to do it with 800 horsepower, there's something wrong with you.
yeah, something very wrong. And again, like across all different platforms, the 70s and 80s, they were that was one of the most dangerous time periods because there
Oh,
were
yeah.
no
Scary
safety
time.
features. Every single person, they didn't care if they lived or died. They were just trying to break records. They were trying to
Yeah.
be the best. They were
Yeah.
trying to one up the last
Yeah.
thing. No
And
restrictions.
you didn't get paid a lot.
And you didn't
You
get
didn't
paid
get
a
paid
lot.
a lot.
You were just an adrenaline
You were just doing it because
junkie.
you were fucked up.
Exactly. You got and paid enough to be able to support your family and go and drive fast. That's it.
Yep. And cars like that inspired the drivers from our last list, a lot of them.
Yeah.
That inspired the Ken Blocks of the world. That inspired the Colin McRae's of the world. I can guarantee if Group B doesn't exist, Colin McRae doesn't have the attitude he does.
Travis, Ken, and Colin, all of them.
Yeah, those were the machines. That's what brought you there.
Yeah.
But that's why that's my number 3. I think it's just one of the purest machines out there.
No, absolutely. I mean, honestly, we're switching gears, but we're keeping the dominance alive with this one. This specific car, there's so many clips out there, and one specific season sticks out the most, and it's based off of the McLaren MP44 Formula One car. That was driven by Prost and Senna. And 1988, just think about this. Imagine a sport where one team leads 97% of all laps in 1 year. It's not a video game. That's not a fictional movie. That was McLaren in 1988.
It sounds fake.
It sounds fake. 97% of all laps were led by one team, whether it was Prost or Senna. One of them was leading it.
Absolutely brutal.
There was a 1.5 liter V6 twin turbo motor. The fuel limit was a big thing back in the day. 150 liters per race. Honda's engines, they were really the only ones that could produce the massive power while still being efficient enough to finish. They were literally some of the only ones that were able to finish the races a lot of the times without having to do those pits before
that's crazy.
Pit stops were banned because after what happened with Max's dad. They don't do pit stop. They don't do fuel ups anymore in Formula One because that shit's so hot that goes boom. The other crazy thing was the low line chassis side of it. They were lying so flat on the ground. Like nowadays drivers they sit like this. Like this is their head, this is them.
Yeah.
Back then they were tucked down even further in this McLaren, and that helped with the aerodynamics with it. So they were able to, the Ferraris, for instance, they were way more upright sitting. It was almost like if you were sitting like this in a Ferrari, they were sitting like this in the McLaren so they could get hunkered down and get
about to catch a nap.
Literally, they could almost go to sleep with how flatline they were. And if you think about that, that's not a comfortable position to be sitting in for an hour to 2 hour race.
At 200 miles an hour.
At 200 miles an hour in those era of cars with no
safety,
no electronics, no safety, no assistance, no plank wear. I mean,
good luck with your back.
Literally. And it's like, so you had this car that was so dominant, but then you had these two dogs behind the wheel of both of these cars. They both hated losing. And in the beginning, they both hated each other. And there's to this day, it is still one of the most controversial teammate situations in Formula One history. And I know we talked about it with Senna last episode, but that was the year of the 1.5 second faster Monaco qualifying lap in the 1988 McLaren. It's just one of those things where it's the only race they lost was because Senna got tangled up with the back marker.
Oh yeah.
And that was in the Italian Grand Prix. It's the only race they fucking lost.
Crazy.
Think about McLaren now. They didn't win. They didn't win
A decent amount.
And Senna won every fucking race except for the Italian Grand Prix in 98 or in 88. Literally, not only did it sound great, it was just one of the most dominant cars in F1 history for an entire season. And it's still to this day one of the most dominant cars. Again, we're a Formula One podcast, so I had to get a couple Formula One cars in here, and that is definitely one of my top favorites.
Oh, absolutely. I'll never forget. I think I talked about it last time. That flying lap, his qualifying lap at Silverstone, the remastered one with all the good colors and everything. Just like I said, no plank wear because I can see all the sparks flying out from the thing, even
in the daytime,
even in low speed corners.
In the daytime,
yeah, insane. And you can see him getting jarred around in the thing. It was before the seas were really formed to him, and it's amazing that more people didn't die in that time.
Oh yeah,
with how crazy these cars were. But that's why those machines were so wild. You had that car, you had Williams with the sequential coming around and traction control and all that stuff. It was the infancy of this stuff, and that's why that's a tremendous pick. I love it.
Oh yeah,
it's a perfect pick.
Hell yeah.
So we're gonna go from one death trap to another one that had a legitimate death gauge in it. We're going to talk about the Porsche 917. The 917, to me, when you talk about Le Mans and we talk about beautiful cars, to me, this is the most beautiful Le Mans car. The most beautiful. It was a prototype, not in the prototype category.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't in the prototype category. They had to make road-going versions of it, which they did. It had to be a road-going version. It had to have a spare tire. So that was one of your first tiny spare tires. Those tiny ones we get in all our little crappy cars now. That's why you can blame Porsche. They came up with it for that car. Luggage. You can see that big ass back engine cover back there that lifts up this way towards the cockpit. There's actually trays in there. Those trays were not for the mechanics to hold the tools while they worked on it, even though that's what they were used for. That was for your luggage. There's a road going version of this car. This car, they had to they pressurized the roll cage and the actual chassis of the vehicle because the walls on the roll cage were so thin. They needed to be able to tell if there was a crack and a leak that ruined the structural integrity of it. That's the death gauge. Okay, it measured the pressure. So if there was a leak, you knew, oh man, I have borrowed time. I'm not stopping because it's the friggin' 80s, and that's what we do. We don't stop.
That's wild. Because if you hit a wall with a cracked frame, you're gonna crumple like a pop can.
It's not gonna do what you think it's gonna do. Not good. Not good. So the weird thing was when they first made this car. Actually, you know what? The stranger thing is actually this car. The history of this car actually involved one of the cars on your list, the GT40. The Porsche 917 was developed by the team that developed the GT40. Wow. Porsche actually bought that outfit. And they developed this car from it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you think about it, the GT40 was actually in the same category as the 917. It was the same category. There's a reason this car didn't get to exist for a long time. But when they first showed up with this car, it actually was really friggin' slow. The drivers complained about wander. It would wander across the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans at 220.
You don't want to be
Okay.
wandering at
The drive
220.
yeah. The drivers didn't let out of the throttle. They came back and they said, "Oh, the car wanders a little." That's how big your balls had to be to race in Le Mans back then. You're at 200 and you're weaving across. Imagine weaving across 495 or whatever major highways near you at 200 uncontrollably. You're driving a Jeep Wrangler at 220 miles an hour. That's what's happening. Oh yeah, by the way, the chassis, I could lift it with one arm.
God,
It weighed 100. The entire chassis of that car weighed 105 pounds.
that's disgusting.
So you see why they needed a depth gauge. So they showed up with this car the very first time. It was at the Daytona Raceway for the Daytona 24 Hour. They showed up ahead of everybody else and they were testing the car. They were over 5 seconds slower than every other car that was predicted to be there from the year previous. That's the data from the previous year. Development was pretty rapid at that point. So what they did was they brought a whole bunch of aluminum sheets, duct tape, screws, and saws with them there. And if you look at the shape of these Porsches, they originally had, if you had your rear end, it had this nice smooth tail that came to like a teardrop shape. It was really pretty. It had a nice wing on,
almost like the
arms come up
Ford
and all that good stuff.
GT40 rear end.
Yes. Well, even more so, it came down to almost a point.
Wow.
Like the Porsches. You think about the Porsches from that time.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
they
yeah,
looked
yeah.
like. So they took a hacksaw and they cut off that nice smooth point, and they went to work with sheet metal and screws and made what we come to know today, my favorite iteration of this car, because they did come up with a long tail as well as the short tail. This is the short tail. Short tail is just cut, big ass tires and back engine in your face. Tail lights because we have to. Wing because downforce, and that's about it. It's amazing. It's just beautiful car. Very, very, very aesthetically pleasing to me, at least. Want to guess how much faster it was than the field in its final form? 5 seconds slower than the field previous.
4.5 seconds.
5 seconds faster.
Damn, I was close.
That's a lot.
And you just made up 10 seconds.
You made up 10 seconds if everybody else stays the same speed.
Yeah.
Everybody else got faster too. They were running nearly 15 to 20 seconds faster than the year previous.
That's insane.
That's stupid. But that was how they actually that was how fast this car was. It was 15 to 20 seconds than the year previous. It had a top speed of 220. It was only allowed to race for, let's see, 3 seasons? Yeah, 3 seasons. Because they outlawed it. And then it went to go race it went to go race over in the US because they hadn't outlawed it yet. And then they outlawed it there. These cars, they were a death trap. If you look at the picture of the chassis where the pedals are versus where the front of the car is. So the chassis ends here, the nose ends out here. Your feet, if this is the chassis, are right here. And in some cases, if you're a tall man, your feet were right here. There was no protection. You die. You lose legs.
Bonkers.
It was a wild time. So these are, and it was an endurance winner. I amazed myself just going back and reading these things.
Yeah.
Like, it's an endurance winner. You had to escape death for 24 hours straight with your feet hanging out in front of the car.
Fred Flintstoning it pretty much.
It's just a mental machine. And it's where that, we even talk about iconic liveries. Probably one of the most iconic liveries of all time. The Golf.
Oh, yeah.
The Golf livery, baby blue, bright friggin' orange, that beautiful stripe with that big old Golf logo on the front. It was just one of the most beautiful cars ever. I think the best looking car that ever raced at Le Mans.
Definitely one of them. Hands down, one of them.
To me, it might be the coolest car that ever raced at Le Mans. It's just so freaking cool. So cool. It didn't have it never got a chance to have as much dominance as it could have. But man,
that's kind of the story about. Yeah, I was gonna say that's the story of a lot of these cars that we're talking about.
These are loophole cars, man. These guys, you had to be it's another one. You had to be a mental patient to drive it.
Yeah.
Fun fact, there's 25 of these road going versions. Well, barring however many have crashed. There are 25 road going versions that existed. They had to build the 25 by a certain date, and they made it by like the skin of their teeth. And the rumors are that they were actually just the bodies placed on truck chassis. Nobody knows. Nobody can say yes. Nobody can say no. Nobody will ever tell. But there's just so many stories around this car. There's so much mystery, so much danger.
Oh yeah, lots of danger. No, that's a great one, honestly. That's a really good one. And it's funny because I have the RS 200 with the Golf
Oh
with
yeah.
the Golf livery on it.
Oh, cool thing about it too was for Daytona specific, they had to develop a special body for it. So you have your regular windshield in front of you. There's actually a window up here in the roof, so that when you're on the banking, you can see in front of you. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's nuts. No, that's a great one. And honestly, like I've based a lot of mine off of sound, and my number one takes first because it's the best sounding F1 car in history, and that is unfortunately not good anymore at all. But the Ferrari F2004. That was the prime time. That was when we had the V10s. That's when you didn't have all the
Mhm.
restrictions and they sounded literally like, again, pissed off hive of
Oh,
hornets.
yeah, yeah. Nothing compares. There's no
Nothing
comparison. There's
nothing
nothing.
compares to the sound. I mean, every time you see all these fake F1 pages saying, "Ooh, FIA thinking about going back to the V10s," I get excited for no reason because I know it'll never happen.
They can't.
Um,
The best sound ever.
but the Ferrari in 2004, they didn't just win. They literally broke Formula 1 so badly that the FIA literally had to rewrite the entire playbook. The entire rule book was rewritten to stop this specific car. I mean, it wasn't only the car. The dream team that was Schumacher, Ross Brawn, Roy Byrne, and Gene Todt, that whole team was 10 years of collaboration all into this one season. This was another dominant car in Formula One. You had the 3.0 V10, 900 horsepower, and it only
Mm,
had 2
yeah.
DNFs all season. Both were due to crashes, not mechanical failures. Schumacher won 13 races in a single season, which still stood for 20 years after that. No, that stood for nearly
Yeah, I think
20
it's 20.
years. Nearly
Yeah,
20
20, yeah.
years. It was I think that just got that got beat from Max, I believe.
Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
From
2000
that dominant season.
and that was 21.
23.
23. That was 23. But yes, it was 23. So literally 19 years held that record. And it still holds official lap times at Monza and Shanghai. Still.
That's crazy. It still has the lap record.
Still has lap records.
Wow.
And that's despite all of the advanced like technology that we
That's
have.
wild. I did not know it had any lap records left. That's incredible.
Even if it was just one, but it still got two.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's nuts.
Yeah, and, the one thing that really stuck out the most, obviously, just wasn't just the horsepower, the sound. I mean, again, it's one of those it to me, the same thing as the Mazda with the gives me goosebumps every single time I hear
Oh
it
yeah.
too. It was the handling. Schumacher straight up said that he's never felt a car that felt like an extension of his own body, except for the F2004. It would the handling was perfect, the power was immense, just the team behind it was insane, and then literally like the next year they rewrote everything. That was I think we started seeing the decline in the V10s. I think when
Yeah.
did V8 come into play, or was it the V6s next?
It was a couple. No, it was V8. A couple seasons after that.
Yeah. They put a lot of restrictions in, and that's when you started seeing the fall of Ferrari. Unfortunately, was the mid 2000s. After
We're still seeing
2004.
them fall.
Oh, I
They're
mean,
somehow still falling farther.
I thought that we already hit the floor. They went to the basement already. But honestly, like iconic F1 car, best sounding F1 car in history, and just domination. Again, just another dominant team at the time,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's just again,
synonymous.
literally favorite sounding car, favorite car on this list, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm always when it comes to sound, I'm always split between that one and the Renault from that
Oh
time.
yeah,
But just those cars just sounded incredible. And even there's that interview with Hamilton. I think it's at Spa
yeah.
when Alonso is driving his old car from that
And
era.
he stops and he's like
He stops the interview just to listen,
wide
and he
eyed.
even says in the interview, he's like, "Oh man, that sound," because everybody knows that's the best sound. That is the best era of car. Just the launch control. They're not even on full tilt RPMs. It's
Yeah, just screaming demons, dude.
Oh, it is. That is the ultimate sound of a race car. There's never been a race car that sounds better.
No, absolutely not.
So going from one mental machine to another, well, I feel like they've all been mental machines.
They've all
so.
literally every single one of these has been a nutcase.
This is very different. Same philosophy, very different kind of vehicle. You ever hear a Ford Capri?
Yeah,
You ever see one with a big ass body kit?
I have.
You ever hear of silhouette cars?
Yes.
Because that's my number one, is the Group 5 Ford Capri Silhouette by Zach Speed. Zach Speed was a German tuner who was famous for being in it's the Group A. He was in Group A with Ford Escorts, and his Escorts were fast. They were real fast, really, really fast. They were out there beating Porsches, and Ford approached him because the Porsches were starting to get a little too fast, and they wanted to build something with their new Capri that could compete and could win. And he was the premier German tuner for Ford in that category. So he went out and he got the new Capri. And they took exactly everything off of the car except for the roof, the A-pillar, B-pillar, C-pillar, and the rockers. Everything else, gone. Chassis, different. No original chassis. Chassis was totally different. It was very controversial. They made one of the first monocoque and space frames, and they put it into this car. It had a 1.4 liter, okay, smaller than a bottle of soda of displacement. Made 380 horsepower.
It's insane.
Which, crazy enough, fast enough for Group A, would not be even close to fast enough for Group 5. And this car weighed 1,800 pounds.
That's nuts.
With the engine, driver, wet, everything. It was 12 inches lower than the road-going version.
It was
That's mental.
scraping frame.
A body the roof line is 12 inches lower than the original car. And that's not a chopped roof. It's a stock A-pillar, B-pillar, C-pillar roof line. Stock roof line. The car was lowered so much, the chassis was changed so much, and they kept that roof line, but it was still 12 inches lower. Absolutely mental. So it showed up. It did that. It had reliability issues for a while. I think it was 4 races until it got its first win. 4 races was apparently an eternity back then, because to me that's pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
That it got its first win. People complained about how long it took. Crazy. They had F1 engineers work on the aerodynamics for the car. They had this big ass wing on the back.
Dude, the front splitter was disgusting.
Oh yeah. And the crazy thing is, all these other cars had these crazy body kits. They had the front splitters just like this. The big ass wing was the issue. All right. So it showed up and it won its 4th race. So they finally started figuring things out. They cranked up the engine a little bit. They went back. They went to the drawing board. They went from a 1.4 liter single turbo to a 1.7 liter twin turbo in relatively quick fashion, because it was within the same season.
That's fast.
Because why not? And Porsche was losing so badly that they started complaining to whatever the governing body was. I don't think it was the FIA at that point. It was somebody else. So they were complaining about their wing. They said the wing is too big. The wing shouldn't be legal. It's outside the body lines of the car. And Zaxby's said, fine, stuff it. I don't need a wing. They took the wing off the car and they took the floor of the car, which, mind you, was frigging glued to it, not riveted, it was glued to the bottom. And they came up with the Venturi tunnels, which existed before this, but this is where we finally figured out the power of them here. When I say it was like an F1 car, it was like an F1 car. They took the wing off and they generated the same amount of force just using tunnels in the floor. So they didn't need a
It's
wing.
insane.
We're going to beat you with our floor. So 1.7 liter twin turbo, 600 horsepower, 1,800 pounds.
Still kept the same weight.
When they found that the wing was illegal, DRM actually stripped them of all of the points from that season. They still came in second.
That's nuts. And honestly, DRM was the series that let DTM walk, or to let them run. Essentially, like that. All of those cars from that series were absolutely bonkers.
Yes. And these cars, this is my favorite race series in general of all time, I think. Just the absolute absurdity of these cars. You had the Moby Dick Porsche, but this Capri was just the most outlandish thing out there. It was competing with the 935s, the slant nose race cars. That's what it was built to beat, and it kicked its ass. Porsche had to go back and redesign and come up with Moby Dick. Literally. They had to develop an engine with over 600 horsepower. They had to go and get rules made. They had to do everything they can to actually outlaw this car to make it to get it out of the picture.
We're seeing a lot of bitching and moaning from Porsche throughout history.
Yeah. Germans hate to lose.
A lot of moaning.
The body on this car was full Kevlar carbon fiber. The whole thing.
That's why it weighed only 1,800.
Yeah, it was a mental machine. And then the sound of it. Okay. Talk about the rotary, how it revved with $9,000. This is a piston engine that revved to about the same. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it was endurance racer. It had to last 24 hours.
It's
full
insane.
crank. It was just a wild machine. It changed the direction again of how Porsche developed their cars. It created another iconic car to beat it. It required another rule-breaking car to beat a rule-breaking car. It's just an awesome machine. Then Ford went and they took two of them. They slapped a Fox body Mustang on top of it, and they sent it to America to race in IMSA. Where so we made 600 horsepower. Didn't make 700. Didn't make 750. It made 790 horsepower. Same chassis. It was too perfect. Didn't change it. Went over here. Unfortunately, it outlived itself. Crazy power, but with the increased power, it could not sustain the endurance life. But man, my list is a lot based on looks and just iconic influence of that stuff. Give me a race car with a big square body kit, massive wing, crazy front splitter, and some BBS 3-piece wheels. I'm happy.
Yeah.
You had stepped faces in the 80s.
That's
Come
wild.
on, step faces are cool. Step face BBS. Yeah, man, I'm down.
No, that's a great one.
Still one of my favorite cars on sim to actually drive for a GT. You can consider it a GT. Is it a GT car? What is it? It's its own thing. It's one of my favorite road cars to drive on any of the sims that are out there. I mean, I remember driving it back in Project Cars 1, 2. It's a machine. It's a friggin' machine. It's, to me, when it comes to looks and what a race car is, the Zaxby's is the epitome to me. It looks fast sitting still.
That's good. And honestly, like with a name of Zaxby's, you got to make something fast. So
something really cool about the car too. So Zaxby's didn't have a crazy budget. They couldn't afford to rent racetracks to test it. They tested it on public roads.
Love it.
There's pictures and videos of it ripping up German highways because they didn't have a choice. Insanity. But that is my number one car. To me, that's the coolest race car of all time.
Yeah, no, that's a great one.
God, I want to see one.
I want to see one in person. But no, we're having fun with these lists. That was a fun one too. And honestly, like we're gonna go and mess around with some drifting here in a second, but we're probably gonna get some of these mods for some of these cars just to be able to ride in them. I already
Exactly.
took the Mazda out on Spa. That thing is just it's ungodly. Like,
Ears bleeding.
well, not
Ears are
even
just
that.
bleeding.
Like, it's just it's you have to be a
Oh yeah.
you have
Well,
to
the
be very
yeah,
skilled individual behind the wheel to be able to
yeah,
wrestle that bear.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's that same era of the Capri and the 787 were in that same time period, kind of there.
yeah.
And the thing that always gets me is the kind of surge of boost. You're in fourth gear, cranking along at 100 and 30 or 40 mile an hour, and all of a sudden the tires decide, hey, you just put 50 pounds of boost in me.
Yeah. No,
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Anything below 5,000 RPM, it feels like a Corolla.
seriously. So, no, that's a lot of fun. We had a fun time coming up with these. We're gonna get some video clips for this one as well. Um,
The best part of it, I get to listen to all these cars repeatedly for the next couple hours.
Literally. So, and we're gonna keep this going. Not sure what we're gonna do next. We're gonna talk about it, but we'll do another top five. We might start jumping over to some more just kind of history side of things, talking about different series, things like that. So, I think that's it for this week.
I think so.
Yeah. So make sure you check us out. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're posting on there. Just did a really cool video. I had some fun making it with some of the drip clips. Kind of followed that shoot the lights out thing that's going around right now with Formula One and other series. So if you haven't yet, go check it out. It's a lot of fun to make it and love seeing the feedback that you guys are giving us on it. Um, but as always, make sure you go and check us out on YouTube and Spotify. That's where we're posting all of our episodes. And as always, make sure you keep the throttle down and the conversation wide open. We'll see you next time.
Later.